Have you ever wondered why Africa continues to borrow billions of dollars from foreign governments, the World Bank, and international lenders? Why Africans themselves already own trillions of dollars? Think about that for a second. According to financial experts, Africa has nearly $4 trillion sitting in pension funds, insurance companies, foreign wealth funds, and private investments. That's money to build thousands of railways, modern railways, modern highways, power plants, airports, hospitals, universities. Yet every year, Africa faces an infrastructure financing gap of around $100 billion. So where all that money is going? Why are African governments constantly searching for foreign aid? Why do African investors often prefer investing in America and Europe instead of Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, Kigali, or Johannesburg? And keeping more African money inside Africa become the key to the continent's economic transformation. Today on When the Dust Settles, we are going beyond the headlines to discuss one of the most important economic debates Africa has faced in decades. I'm your host, Karyokie Peeco Conway. Let's settle the dust. Africa is not poor. One of the biggest misconceptions about Africa is that the continent simply lacks money. That isn't entirely true. Africa certainly has countries facing poverty and debt. But Africa also has enormous wealth. According to Africa Financial Corporation, Africa collectively control approximately $4 trillion through pension funds, insurance companies, sovereign wealth funds, commercial banks, and private investors. That's Africa money. The question is not whether Africa has capital. The question is whether that capital is being invested in Africa itself. And in many cases, the answer is no. Large amount of African savings are invested overseas because investors view those markets as safer and more predictable. That means African money often help finance roads, businesses, and infrastructure in other parts of the world, while African countries continue borrowing money to build their own. Why Africa money leaves Africa? Imagine you manage a pension fund, right? Your responsibility is protecting the retirement savings of millions of workers. Could you invest in a country where government policies change dramatically or frequently? Contracts may not always be enforced. Currencies can fluctuate dramatically, or political instability creates uncertainty. Or will you buy U.S. Treasury bonds that have historically been viewed as among the safest investments in the world? For many institutional investors, the answer is obvious. The rich, the answer is obvious. They follow risk, not geography. Money generally flows where investors believe it would be the safest. This is one of the reasons African capital often leaves the continent. It isn't necessarily because investors don't believe in Africa. It isn't necessarily because investors don't believe in Africa. It is because they are trying to protect the people whose money they manage. Africa's new strategy. This is where the writer's story becomes important. The new president of the African Development Bank, Saditer, is promoting a new financing strategy. Instead of depending primarily on foreign aid, Africa wants to reduce investment risk. This is where guarantee comes in. Think about guarantee as the parent co-signing a loan for a child, right? The bank feels safer lending money because someone else promises to step in if that child doesn't pay. You know what I'm saying? Infrastructure guarantee works much more the same. If an African railroad project receives a guarantee from a trusted institution, investors become much more willing to participate. The project can receive a better credit rating. Borrowing costs fall, and suddenly pension funds and insurance companies become interested. That is called de-risking an investment. Why credit ratings matters? Why credit ratings matters? Many people have heard of credit ratings for individuals, right? Countries and infrastructure projects also receive ratings. Large institutional investors often have rules preventing them from investing in projects that do not achieve investment grade ratings. Without strong credit ratings, billions of dollars remain unavailable. Guarantee can help improve those ratings. That opens the door for enormous pool of investment capital. Why this matters beyond infrastructure? This conversation is not about rules. Infrastructure affects nearly every part of daily life. Reliable electricity helps factories operate. Boarding ports reduce shipping costs. Efficient railways connect farmers to markets. Better roads reduce transportation costs. Reliable infrastructure attracts manufacturers. Manufacturing creates jobs. Jobs reduce poverty. Economic growth expands government revenues. In other words, infrastructure is not simply connecting concrete roads and steel. Infrastructure creates opportunity. Africa must begin investing more in Africa. Africans must begin investing more in Africa. This may be the most important lesson. For decades, Africans are often looked outward for development financing. Western governments, China, international financial institutions, development agencies, foreign investors, all of them have played important roles. But perhaps the next chapter of African development depends more on Africans themselves. Imagine if African pension funds invested more in Africa and African infrastructure. Imagine insurance companies financing African energy projects. Imagine sovereign wealth funds helping develop African ports instead of purchasing only oversee assets. Imagine African banks financing African industries. That could mean savings, helping create African prosperity. But that requires trust. Keeping more money in Africa cannot happen simply because lenders ask investors to do so. Trust must be earned. Investors need confidence that contracts will be respected, projects will be professionally managed, corruption will be addressed, political instability will improve, or political stability will improve, and governments will honor financial commitments. Without these reforms, guarantee alone cannot solve the problems. Investment follows confidence. Confidence follows good governance. Africa's opportunity. The encouraging news is that momentum appears to be building. Development banks are working together. Guarantee programs are expanding. African financial institutions are exploring new financial models. The opportunity exists. The question is whether governments, financial institutions, and private investors can work together effectively enough to seize that opportunity. That's the question. Can they seize that opportunity? Folks, perhaps Africa's greatest untapped natural resources is in gold, is in oil, is in diamonds, is in cobalt, is in lithium. Perhaps Africa's greatest untapped resource is African capital itself. If even a fraction of the continent's $4 trillion could be invested safely inside Africa, the conversation about development could change dramatically. Foreign investors will always remain valuable. International or partnership will always matter. But the future of Africa may increasingly depend on Africans financing Africa. Not because the continent should isolate itself from the world, but because sustainable development is strongest when it is supported by domestic confidence, domestic investment, and domestic ownership. As the old saying goes, no one has the greatest stake in Africa's future than Africans themselves. The writer's stories reminds us that the tools to unlock the future may always exist. The challenge now is turning potential into reality. Folks, if you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Here on When the Dust Settles, we examine the African Union, regional economic communities, global affairs, sports, and the economic issues shaping Africa's future. Not just reporting the headlines, but explaining what they really mean. Folks, I also encourage you to visit our website, www.lavdmedia.com, for more analysis or articles and commentary. I'm Karyokie Peeco Conway. Thank you for watching. Until next time, when the dust settles, the truth remains.